country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. That's what the essence of it is. And I'm going to have a lot more to say about that tonight and the next couple of days and be able to take your questions. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is sign this bill and make a presentation tonight. And then there's going to be plenty of opportunities. We're going to be on the road, not only talking about...
So now many politicians are just wanting to change that. Folks, as one of the more popular proposals, it would apply Social Security payroll tax to pretty much all earnings above 400 grand. That would create a doubt in a donut hole that slowly closes over time. Since the maximum taxable earnings limit is adjusted each year to account for changes in general wage levels, lawmakers have already even proposed increasing the tax rate to 6.5%. What this means is that there will be a 13% tax, and now they said this would eliminate around 16% of the $20 trillion shortfall. At this month, Federal Reserve staff economists also briefed policymakers that the chances of a recession is also rising by 50%. The forecast was the first such warning that a recession will happen since the central bank began raising the rates again back in March. Now, during this time, economists say that the possibility that persistent reduction in inflation could require a greater than assumed amount of tightening in financial conditions is just seen as a risk. The influential staff at the Fed's Board of Governors in Washington plays a big important role in the monetary policymaking process through briefings on economic conditions and forecasts. During a press conference, Jerome Powell already told reporters that he thought no one, whether that there was going to be a recession or not, sees how bad the recession would be. No one even knows how bad this could get. But a recent batch of inflation reports suggests that a piece of runaway price is that increases will finally start to increase again. The job market remains relatively healthy, but that doesn't mean anything because we all know that President Biden has to do more and send out stimulus payments
today. And I thank the chairman of the full committee, Chairman Peter DeFazio of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, for his just outstanding leadership for over 30 years in the Congress of the United States. He's been a champion for America's working families. He's been a person about the future. We have been blessed by his leadership. And I want to commend Chairman Jim McGovern of the Rules Committee for steering this urgent and necessary legislation to the floor in such an expeditious and effective manner. Madam Speaker, under President Joe Biden, we've had the most pro-union administration in history. Indeed, he chose a labor secretary, and Secretary Marty Walsh, who has deep personal roots in organized labor, joining Laborers Union Local 223 at age 21 and eventually rising to serve as the head of the Boston Building Trades before he became mayor of Boston. Together, the White House, the administration, and the Congress, we have proudly stood with working people. Under President Biden and our pro-union Democratic majority, we were able to protect pensions, promote the PRO Act for collective bargaining, and create good-paying Davis-Bacon jobs in the infrastructure bill, in the CHIPS and Science law, and additional legislation. Because we believe that the middle class is the backbone of our democracy, and we believe that the middle class has a union label on it.
Now, the IRS has also confirmed, folks, that many Americans will be receiving a new $1,400 extra stimulus check this year. In this video, I'll be going over the brand new requirements to claim a fourth stimulus check very soon. So, the
latest round of stimulus checks already starting to show up in bank accounts. Hopefully, you're going to receive yours in the next.
The stimulus checks are coming, and not just $1,400 checks for adults, but also more money than ever before fund. So you're ready for the next downturn. And put some money in a 529 college fund for the kids or for you.
Our old bank.
That check your stimulus thing, it actually gave my old bank account.
That's even though she gave the IRS her new banking info.
We have some breaking news, everybody. Unemployment claims are continuing to rise even higher. Economists are urging that Joe Biden take executive action on this and send out extra relief to millions of Americans. However, Democrats and Republicans are just trying to come up with an agreement on who should qualify for this financial assistance. And now the sending of stimulus payments and tax refunds as inflation relief continues in the United States is here. So several states actually across the nation have approved the sending of payments as inflation just continues to get worse over the next coming years. For instance, in New Mexico, continuing to issue a fourth stimulus check. In New Mexico, they're issuing a fourth stimulus check, everybody. It's worth at least $400. It's going to go to qualified households, and during the season, the state allocated $10 million for economic aid to help the low-income residents, and no maximum income has even been specified for eligible households. And these payments are earmarked for families with the lowest incomes first, and Human Services Department cautions that there will be a limited number of applicants. One state official even told Yahoo News that this is a one-time relief stimulus payment. It follows the 3 other rounds of stimulus checks and other tax rebates issued by the New Mexico government between May and August. But this new stimulus check will be allocated to the low-income families only. The new inflation relief check that was signed into the law was pushed by the governor. It was for $200, and it's going to be returned to every resident in the state. The state auditor says that your checks are already going out to eligible recipients. And for those who haven't received the first $130 of refund yet, well, it will be combined with a $200 check if you're married and filing jointly. And now $650 is also headed your way. According to experts, if you receive a tax refund and you're signed up for direct deposit, the Department of Revenue will deposit the money in your account, just like it did with the $125 stimulus check early this year. The Labor Department reported this week that slightly more Americans applied for unemployment benefits compared to a year ago, even as the uneven U.S. economy just shakes around. Applications for jobless claims has also remained very low, even as the Fed has cranked up its benchmark, everybody, and the borrowing rate in an effort to cool down the economy, which has been suffering from inflation and other logistical issues. Now, folks, not only that, but listen to this. Fed officials have warned that the unemployment rate will likely just remain and rise as part of the fight against rising prices and stimulus payments. The most recent government jobs report likely snuffed out any hope that the Fed would even pause rate increases when it meets next week. American employers showed their hiring in September. Now, they still added 263,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate fell from 3.7% to 3.5%. It matches a half a century low. Early this month, the government reported that inflation in the United States has accelerated in September, with the cost of housing and other necessities intensifying pressures on families and businesses. 4-decade high inflation has also prompted the Federal Reserve to keep raising its interest rate, which is currently in a range of 3 to 3.25%, a little more than 6 months ago. That rate was near zero, and this sharp rate hike has pushed mortgage rates up near 7% and made other borrowing even costlier. Now, the Fed hopes that higher interest rates will slow borrowing and spending and push inflation closer to its traditional 2% budget. Now, the government also reported that the U.S. economy rebounded in the third quarter, expanding by 2.6%,